we'll just go in order and flip back around again. If somebody directs a question to Richard and either one of you feel like you would like to answer that after Richard is totally finished, please feel free to jump in. And for the sake of time, we have prepared several yes and no questions. So candidates, please respect that we're asking for a yes or a no. We're not asking for anything else. Yes or no. And I'm just going yes, yes, like that. And then we're going to move on because we got lots of questions. And I want to invite you that if you want to expand on those yes and no questions, I will be sending them out to you. I'll email them to you. And we would really invite you, encourage you to answer those questions in depth. Give us the opportunity to share that with the public. We will post it in a Google Doc on our Facebook page and on Twitter, and you all can do the same if you so choose. But we would really, really like for you to consider doing that. So, any questions from the audience? I mean, about just the logistics, what I've gone over. So if you have any audience members have questions, you need to get up and go over here and start a line. And if you would proceed to the back of the room to form your line, that would be really great. So we don't go in, that's okay, so we don't get in front of the cameras. Yes, Kathleen?
I'm sorry, are the candidates going to address us first?
Yes, but I'm trying to get the, I know what I'm doing, honest I do, okay? So are you all ready to, anybody else that's got a question, if you'll start lining up, I'd appreciate that for lack of time. And then each candidate is going to spend about 2 minutes talking to you, and then we're going to go right into an audience question. Then I'll ask a few questions, we'll take another audience question and move back and forth like that. So Dennis, would you like to address the crowd first, please? And you've got a mic right there. Yeah, just like 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I sent an email out, you may not have gotten it. And then let you go next, okay?
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting myself and Tara Samples to join in this community discussion. Our campaign is essentially about power to we the people. It's about changing the relationship between the people and state government. Most government models are top-down. We want to reverse the paradigm and cause people to feel empowered through being able not just to have access, but through being able to have individuals who relate to people's practical aspirations, jobs, wages, healthcare for all, education for all, rebuild Ohio's infrastructure, have a government that's dynamic and energetic and ready to take action to meet the needs of people. We're already doing that. When Massillon announced they were closing that there was a hospital being closed, I went down there and advised public officials on the path they could take, legally and otherwise, to keep it open. When a hospital was being closed in Dayton, I helped organize the community, and we're in the fight right now to save a community hospital. My whole life has been about reaching out to people. The campaign isn't about me. My candidacy is really the expression of the aspirations of a lot of people who want a government they can call their own. And the other thing this campaign is about is unity and diversity and inclusiveness. Tara Samples' position in this campaign is, to me, of signal importance, not only because when elected, she'll become the first African American to ever hold, a Democrat, to ever hold a state office, elected statewide, in a 215-year history of Ohio, but also because she has the practical experience. As a mother of 5, a grandmother of 10, she understands what life's about. And so my own experience growing up in the inner city of Cleveland, together with Tara's experience from the inner city of Akron, provides a ticket not just with dynamism and heart, but a ticket that has the ability to come up with practical solutions to the concerns of people. So we're so grateful to be here this evening. And when we talk about agriculture and Appalachia, some of the same concerns that poor people have up north, the quality of life, whether they're going to roof over their heads, whether they're being able to feed their family, pay their taxes if they have a farm, have clean air, clean water. These are concerns that people share statewide and in the southern part of the state for sure. So I know that. That's why I'm here. Thank you for the invitation. I look forward to our discussion this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Portia. Thank you for inviting us all tonight. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I know it's going to snow later, so we won't stay here past midnight. But I'm pleased to be here. And let me just tell you a little bit about myself. Some of you know me very well. Some of you don't know me well. My parents, as I grew up, worked in the field of social services with the developmentally disabled, both my mother and my father. My mother was a teacher and social worker. My father worked in that field for 43 years, his whole career. They set an example to us of public service, not celebratory, famous public service, just going to work every day to make a difference for the quality of life for others. And that's the service that I learned, and that's the service that I have tried to portray and to exemplify and to carry out in my career in government and in law. I have been a law professor. I have been a state representative, state solicitor general, state treasurer, state attorney general, and I worked in Washington for the last 6 years. As Portia mentioned, I was recommended by Elizabeth Warren, recruited by Elizabeth Warren, and nominated by President Obama, and he was persistent with me. He nominated me. The Republicans in the Senate blocked me on a filibuster. He appointed me in a recess appointment, very unusual. We flew out together to Shaker Heights High School for that appointment. He nominated me again. The Republicans blocked me again. And after 2 years, I finally was confirmed by the Senate, and I had 72 votes to overcome the filibuster. It was just the kind of nonsense that they play in Washington. I know, Dennis, you've seen it up close over the years, and it still is the way it is there. I'm coming back to run for governor this year because I think it is an important crisis and juncture in our politics in this country. We have a president in the White House who is trying to divide people against one another, pit people against one another, sow conflict in our communities, and he gets political advantage by that. I strongly object to that. I also see a Republican legislature that for years has waged a war on local government and communities across this state, taking money from them to give it back in tax cuts to those who deserve it and need it the least, and setting the wrong priorities for our state. When I was in state government and we faced the foreclosure crisis, our approach was to bring local officials together with state officials, with our great nonprofits in our communities who are so underappreciated, and those in the private sector that are willing to step up and face that problem. We put together Save Our Homes task forces, more than 50 of them. This was government from the ground up, as you described, Dennis, and it was important work, and we saved thousands of homes. We can take the same approach to solving the state's problems today. But this legislature cannot do it because they want to sow conflict and they want to pit people against one another. We will bring people together. That is what I call the Ohio way. It's the only way we've ever solved practical problems in this state. It's the way we will solve them when I'm governor, and I look forward to having that opportunity. And I'm glad to be here tonight to discuss these issues with all of you. Thank you so much.
So you come forward, please, and tell us your name. Just have a seat right there. I'm going to move over. I was hoping I could get you over here, but it's the logistics. It's just going to be a nightmare. So I'll scoot back. But introduce yourself.
You're fine.
Tell us what county you're from. And
Oh, you're fine to
give
settle.
us your
You're all right.
question.
Well, I'm Dennis Foreman from Pike County. I spend most of my time in Ross County. I teach at Zane Trace. I'm here all the time. I used to put on Paper City Music Festival, which Mr. Stivers has on his webpage. But my question, I used to work for Ted Strickland, and my grandma had a place in Grove City, so you're a good guy. So my question, I gotta give this real quick. We the people of Southern Ohio feel left out. I'm tired of my state telling us the state has no power in federal issues, but I tell you, our state usually picks the President of the United States. So right now, my town, the village of Piketon, I'm on my third term of council, and we did a third-party assessment. We found fractured bedrock below what DOE misrepresented to the community, past 20 feet. It's in the record of decision, it was misrepresented. Also, they don't meet TSCA, the Toxic Substance Act, which means you have to be at least 50 feet above the water table. There's places as 21 and 97. What's happening is, they're doing some kind of average. That doesn't go. My question for you guys, for both of you, you fine men and women for being here, I really appreciate it. Will you support my small village of 2,500 people that has sacrificed nearly 4,000 acres of our ground forever? Because what happens is, I feel we're being left out. The town of Piketon played a role in the Cold War. We protected the United States of America by giving up our land forever. Now they tell us they want to build a dump that doesn't meet these requirements I just told you about, that should last for 1,000 years, which I highly doubt. My people feel slighted. And we are Buckeyes just like you two. I'm a proud Buckeye, so can you tell me, as the governor, will you support your local people when federal people feels like we're being wrong to our state? Because this is the largest nuclear dump, if it goes, in the Midwest.
Thank you very much. You see her listen.
How much time do we have for this?
2 minutes or less if you
Okay.
It's hard for me to give you a time limit because it's a conversation, but yeah.
In 1995, I led a statewide effort to stop a nuclear dump from being located in Ohio. They wanted to bring nuclear waste from Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Missouri into Ohio. Now, how was I able to stop it? First, I did my homework, and I found out that there are hydrogeological studies that shows that there's no way to isolate water from these containers that have the nuclear waste, that water will always find a way to seep in. So we're talking about radioactive contamination of surface, groundwater, and freshwater supplies. We had a statewide movement, and we stopped it, we blocked it. Now I will tell you, this isn't even a close question. If I'm governor, there's not gonna be a nuclear dump there. We'll also, number one. Number two, we have to look to the fact that they wanna, I mean, it's sacrilegious to put a mound of radioactive waste where mounds of prehistoric peoples, ancient native peoples, exist. Well, you can't do that. That's spiritually wrong. The third thing. Now, the Piketon plant has had a lot of problems. We need to do a health assessment to make sure that people in the area, that their health has not been degraded as a result of that facility. Because your community of 2,500 has already paid a price for this. And so, to me, this is not even a close question. It's about protecting the health, the lives, the water supply of the people in the community, and it's about protecting the state of Ohio from having a nuclear dump located in the state. And furthermore, we have to change our energy policies in Ohio. We have to find a way for the utility companies, going to have to figure out what to do with that nuclear waste. They're not going to store it in Ohio. They have to keep it on site until we come up with a solution, and they have to do the best to isolate it there. Final comment, nuclear power was sold to us as being power too cheap to meter. Our utility rates keep going up because these companies have not kept faith with the people in this state to find a way to keep rates down. Why? Because they have not been able to produce the power that was promised, and also because nuclear power, in and of itself, they never told the people they were going to have to pay the cost of storage. And this waste degrades over a period of thousands of years. So we're stuck with it forever. So the ratepayers and the taxpayers are stuck with it forever. As far as I'm concerned, I want to minimize Ohio's exposure to that kind of injustice. Thank you.
I agree with Dennis on this issue, and I agree with you, sir. One thing I heard you say was you feel misled because DOE has put out plans and different assessments, and you think that you have determined and others have determined that there's actually an aquifer that is at risk there when they were pretending or representing that it was not. That's, to me, an example of We need to hear from local communities about what's going on in their area in order to address and understand and solve these types of problems. We should not have a nuclear dump in Ohio. When I was in the legislature, I fought to reclaim the scrap tire nuisances that were all over the state, and many of you may remember. They burned, and they would burn for months at a time, and people would dump more scrap tires on them. We got that cleaned up. We were able to use new technology, to use water technology, high pressure hydro technology to clean those up, and we do not have a scrap tire problem in the state of Ohio now. That was something we did when I was in the legislature. When I was Attorney General, I went after polluters and people who were cheating and violating the law to get an advantage in the marketplace, which is the same thing I saw at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, by the way. And it's wrong, and we went after it and we stopped it. As to the Piketon facility in particular, we need to make sure that the community's voices are heard. As you said, this community has already done tremendous service. For years, they supported Cold War efforts in the United States, in the local community, to protect us. Now they need to be protected in turn, and we owe them that duty, I believe, as public officials in the state of Ohio. Thank you.
I feel like an Appalachian wallowing around. Anyway, this is Beth Neal. I introduced her earlier.
Beth Neal with Chillicothe City Council. The Ohio Legislature, Ohio Senate, Governor Kasich has repeatedly bragged about their Ohio Miracle budget. And in Chillicothe, just 3 or 4 years ago, we experienced a several $million budget cut because Ohio cut the funds to municipalities. Now Ross County is experiencing that same issue. They have a several $million cut to their budget.